I had a great year of reading in 2024. So many fantastic stories. 2025 is looking awesome too. Here's some of the key books and series I hope to get to. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where we talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. I'm Jim, the father of this father son show, and I'm here to talk about some of these great books that I'm looking forward to consuming in 2025. And maybe these will be books that you can add to your TBRs too. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to give us a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, we hope you will. Before I dive into the new books for 2025, I thought it might be good to review what my intentions were for 2024. Because I had a lot of good books I was hoping to read, and I did read a lot of good books, but they weren't all the same that I thought I'd do in the first place. You gotta understand, I have a lot of books I want to read. My TBR back at the beginning of 2024 was just over 1,300 books. Yeah, 1,300 books all clamoring for my attention. Now that list is over 1,500. I keep adding faster than I can read. But I did put it out there, looking at that list, what were the ones that was really targeting? That at least these books would get read in 2024. And how did I do? First up, I was going to finish Malazan Book of the Fallen. Yes, I got those done, but that's part of why I didn't get through as many of the ones I thought I would. It took a long time to finish that series. I've not finished all of Malazan, but I finished the 10 books of Malazan Book of the Fallen. I also finished the 6 books of the novels of the Malazan Empire by Ian C. Esselmont and a couple short story collections. I've done a lot of Malazan. I was going to get through the 4 books of The Axe of Cain by Matthew Stover. Success! And they were freaking awesome. I was going to read Dying Days, a zombie apocalypse series by Armand Rosamilia. Didn't even touch them. They're still sitting there on the TBR. I was going to read numerous more Stephen King novels as I try to catch up on everything he's done. As I promised that, I was in the midst of reading Duma Key. Duma Key killed me. It took forever to get through. I never really got into it much. And when I got done, I pushed King away. I have not touched another Stephen King book yet. And don't have any real plans yet. Waiting for the itch to come back. I was going to touch all of Pierce Brown's Red Rising saga. 6 books were out, and the 7th book, the finish, would be coming out sometime soon. Well, I did read all 6 books. Fantastic. Book 7, still not here. So now I'm like the rest of you schmucks waiting for the finish. Maybe in 2025? I was hoping to read the Dawn trilogy by Philip Chase. Never even touched it. It just didn't get to the top of the pile enough. Partly because other things leapfrogged it, but it's still there. I'm hoping to read it. I'm really looking forward to it. I hear so much good. Philip, really, I'll get to it. Then there was the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang I thought I'd get to. And I did read those books. That was different. Asian Grimdark. I kind of enjoyed them. I kind of was disturbed by them. I've got content on it. Then King's Dark Tidings, a series that's still being written, really loved by my friend Spencer over at the Fantasy Files. Didn't even get to him, not even close. Someday. And then one at the end of our list last year, I said I was hoping to possibly start, was the massive Galaxy's Edge military sci-fi series. Ton of books in this series. There was no way I was going to finish them all. Well, there was no way I even started them. Not a whiff. They still await. Now, that was 9 different sets or series of books that I targeted last year, and I only accomplished reading 4 of them. Those aren't great odds. Not a super high batting average. Well, actually, as a batting average, that would be pretty good. But I hope to do better in 2025. That said, the reason I didn't read more was I simply read other things. I still read 88 books. And I'm actively reading 3 others right now, 1 or 2 of which I might still finish before Christmas. I'm recording on December 20th. I got some time. What's in my crosshairs for 2025? What do I really think I've got a decent shot of getting through and I'm going to try to push on and enjoy? Let's take a look. But first, there's a bonus here I should mention. Wind and Truth, Book 5 of the Stormlight Archive. Massive book by Brandon Sanderson, came out early in December. I am reading it now, but it's taking me a long time because it's so long and I've been busy. I'm about a quarter of the way through now, which still leaves 3/4 of a 1,600-page book. So it's going to take me a while. I'm pretty sure I'll still be reading that at the beginning of January, which will slow down moving on to other things. But it's a good one to check off my list. It just won't fit into either year. I don't know. So what do I have after that? All right. First one is to finish the first Law series. I just finished yesterday the 7th book out of the 9-book sequence, and I started today book 8. So this will be an easy finish. The Age of Madness trilogy is turning out to be the best of Abercrombie yet. It will be a pleasure to move through these last 2 books, and I'll have that finished in early January, no doubt. Then I do want to return to the Surviving the Evacuation series, a pretty good zombie apocalypse series that I started in 2024. I read the first 7 books. That only leaves 22 more. But they're good, and they're not that long. We'll see if I can get through them all. Next up, I want to fit in The Black Crown by John A. Douglas. John, I hear so much good about this book. It's been sitting there calling to me. It's high on my TBR. That should definitely get done here in 2025. There are more books in the Malazan series that I want to read, more like the Malazan world. You know, they're not all just one series. They scatter from things around the world and different connected elements that we get to read about. So I think there's 14 more books still waiting for me. Again, I've read 16, couple of short story collections, but still 14. Maybe a 15th coming, maybe a 16th coming. I don't know. But I'm going to move through more of them. Will I get through them all? Hard to say. Probably not. But I'm going to read some of them for sure. Then I've got Monsters We Feed, a book of the Advent Lumina cycle by Thomas Howard Riley. I have read the first book of that cycle before, We Break Immortals. It was a big book. It was a challenging book. In the end, I decided it was a good book. So this one is waiting. It's a prequel, I think. And I have it already. And I hope to get to it in 2025. Then I've got a trilogy, just a classic fantasy trilogy, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn by Tad Williams. This is one I feel bad I haven't gotten to already. Lots of people have read it and raved about it. It's on the 2025 list. A newer one that's on my list, recommended by others who follow us and our fellow content creators. I'm looking to read the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. This is horror, scary of a sort, and it really intrigued me. A little different. I mean, definitely not the typical fantasy and sci-fi, but definitely something that fits in my lane. So that's in my crosshairs for 2025. A standalone novel, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark, is one I want to get to this year. I thought I'd get to it in 2024, and then when it rose to the top, I didn't feel like it. Just wasn't feeling it. I moved it down the TBR, but not too far. It's still coming. It sounds like it's worthy. I'm a little afraid it's maybe too good, too highbrow. I don't know. So I'm going to try to read it this year and see what I think. Philip Chase, your Adon trilogy is definitely on the list that I'm committing to try to get to this year. Do or do not. There is no try. Sorry. The plan is to read it again this year. So there it is. That's my 9th one. And then I'm going to throw in a 10th this year. Something I've been talking about for a little while. I hear lots of good things. H.C. Newell, your Fallen Light series, which I believe you're still writing. I want to start into that. So that's the end of this list. Hopefully by the end of 2025, I will begin those books. Now, in the midst of all of that, I will still jump in with various other self published titles, especially books that have been sent to us, asking us to read and review. They'll be speckled in throughout all of these that I've named. And then other books that were in the 2024 that I didn't read, they're still on the TBR. Again, Dying Days, King's Dark Tidings, Galaxy's Edge, even all those Stephen King novels, they're there. They just got pushed further down by other things. But to be honest, with my TBR, I'm a bit of a mood mover. I'll raise things up, I'll lower things down just based on how I feel. If it's on the list, it's got a shot when it's time to pick something new to read. So we'll see. Maybe some of those that I didn't do last year, I'll end up doing this year anyways, but no promises. All right, there's the books I'm looking at reading this year. That leaves out so many other great fantasy and science fiction and horror reads that I do hope to get to at some point. They're on my TBR. How fast can I read? I read in 2023 well over 100 books, but only 88 so far this year. It varies. I'll see what I can do. If any of you have like a spare couple $1,000,000 and want to just join our Patreon and dump it all on me, I can stop working and read full time and just put out content for you. Then I promise I'll get through more faster. But as I expect, that is unlikely to happen. It'll probably be somewhere in the 80 to 100 range again. But it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. If you have any comments on the books that are on my list, please drop them in the comment box. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No spoilers, of course. But if you've read them, you're encouraging me to read them, great. If you have books on your planned list of reading, if you do that sort of thing for 2025, let me know, because they might already be on my TBR. When people prioritize books they're excited about that they're going to read, and it's already on my TBR, I usually bump them up a little higher. So you have a chance to influence what's getting closer to the top of the list. That's where I'll leave you for today then. Thanks for watching. Enjoy some good books. We'll talk to you next time.